Okay, so I wanted to discuss this story yesterday because, this is kind of my beat, but I neglected it in favor of the Groyper War, as I'm sure you all know. Yesterday I felt that was a little more relevant to my American audience. However, there is still ongoing right now, Groyper War or not, a coup in Bolivia. A coup that looks to be a pretty classic, CIA hit job by the looks of it. But of course, we don't know that right now because, you never find that out until decades later when it's all declassified. So let's just go over the facts first, and then we'll see why I came to that conclusion. So first of all, you have a socialist president in Bolivia, a self-proclaimed socialist. Bolivia is a very left-wing country. If you look at, their not their parliament or Congress, I guess. I think they use the French term House of Deputies, which there again, there's a red flag right there. They use French terms for their administration, like House of Deputies and departments. That's always a big red flag. But anyway, the biggest party by far in the House of Deputies is the Socialist Party, and then next after that you have another left-wing party, and then only all the way down at the bottom is there a center-right party. Not even a right-wing party, a center-right party. So, Bolivia is a place where you don't really have great options to vote for if you're someone like me that likes, freedom. But then again, isn't that the case in pretty much every country that isn't Liechtenstein? So anyway, this socialist president, Evo Morales, who is a darling on the left in America, I had a professor who was quite fond of him way back when. He is been in power for 13 years now, since about 2006. He's considered to be a big symbol of, I guess you could say, diversity, I guess minorities triumphing in politics, because I believe he is a full-blood, what we would call in the U.S. a Native American, or down there I believe they call them Amerindians, something like that. He's not a mestizo, I don't think. I think most of their leaders in Bolivia have been, mestizo. And of course, Bolivia has a very small white population. They're pretty much, I don't think there was a big settler population there at any given time. So it's mostly mestizos and then also natives with a very, very small population of white people. But for whatever reason, from what I understand, Morales' racial profile is a part of his appeal and has been a part of his sort of political identity, his standing up for the indigenous people and all that jazz. So this whole mess started with this recent election in which Evo Morales, controversially apparently, won re-election. So the rule in Bolivia, I think, that is to avoid a runoff, there needs to be like a 10%. Maybe it was, I can't remember if he has to get a 60% majority or if it's that he has to be 10% over the guy in second place, something like that, to avoid a runoff. And whatever the threshold is, he barely matched it, and people were a little suspicious that maybe there was some finagling with the votes to make sure that he just barely got over that he was close and maybe didn't get it, and so they maybe stuffed a few ballot boxes to swing things in his favor. And of course, Morales completely denies all this stuff. Well, here we are, a few weeks after the election, and the OAS, the Organization of American States, the very same organization that has said that Maduro's re-election in Venezuela was illegitimate and that he's an illegitimate president, came out and said, okay, it looks to us like there was some finagling done with the votes, and their reasoning behind this actually. I don't think is that solid. It actually seems like it could go either way, that either they or Morales are telling the truth in this case. Because, there was some suspicious activity on election night, and essentially what happened was while they were counting the ballots, there was this pause in the vote counting, when they were going through everything. And it looked like before this pause that, Morales was not going to have enough votes to avoid a runoff. But then after this pause was over, all of a sudden the votes that were coming in were a much higher percentage in his favor. And it turned out that he was able to avoid a runoff. So this looks very suspicious. It looks like, the Morales folks saw, well, the votes were being counted. Gee, we're not going to have enough to avoid a runoff here. Let's pause, create a bunch of fake ballots, destroy some, ballots that are voting against us, and then, we'll have enough to make it over the edge. That's what it looks like. Now, Morales' supporters have countered that and said, well, no, it's not that they were stuffing the ballot boxes or anything like that. It's just that earlier in the night, they were counting votes that happened to be from areas that were, less favorable for Morales. And then at the end of the night, they were counting votes from, his strongholds. And so either of those stories, either saying that they rigged the vote, or that they were just, counting from areas that, were their strongholds at the end of the night, it can go either way, without knowing more information. So that's as much as I can say on that until we have more info. But anyway, after the OAS report, the opposition cried out and cried foul and said, you rigged the election. And Morales said, okay, let's just have another election. Let's redo the vote, which kind of seemed like he was conceding something. I don't know if it was just that, he wanted to, tamp down on the opposition before things got any worse because he was worried, or if he really did, rig things and he's like, you caught me. Okay, let's have another election. Well, the military said, no, that's not good enough, Mr. President. You're out. You've, 3 strikes and you're out. And they kicked him out, so he had to resign, and he said, okay, there's a coup going on, so I guess I'm out of here. And so next thing we know, the president's out, and there's rioters pillaging his house and posting videos of, throwing his underwear all over the room and stuff, and, chaos. Which is, that's not something you really want to see, as soon as the president resigns, that his house is being ransacked. That normally doesn't give a lot of credibility to your movement, typically. No need to worry, though, because the U.S. State Department completely endorses this coup and says that, hey, everything's on the up and up, this is great, the evil dictator is gone, and democracy has been restored. And of course, you know what democracy means in American terms. Whenever they talk about that, that's just a nice way of saying that, you ended up with the government that likes America. So yeah, according to the State Department, this coup is both democratic and not a coup, which is kind of funny. It just, the doublespeak is unparalleled. I mean, nobody is better than the U.S. State Department. So when I saw this is really what made me think, hey, this was a CIA coup, because the State Department's pretty much coming out and admitting, they're saying, okay guys, there was no coup here, we swear, and we totally love this new government. You guys are great. Go democracy. That is a tacit admission that at the very they're telling us overtly, hey, we support the coup. But then they're also kind of implying by saying that, hey, we supported this, that you probably, help these guys out. Because, there's CIA guys all over Latin America. It's not like it would have been hard for them to help. It's not like they would have been hands off if they were this supportive, all along. And, of course, the NED, the National Endowment for Democracy, which is that is the CIA NGO. Non-governmental organization. It's not the CIA in the same way that this coup was not a coup, if you get what I mean. The NED has a huge presence in Bolivia, so I'm sure they've been planning this for a long time. Here we are. It's just been executed. And also something to keep in mind is that Bolivia's president was I think the last leader in Latin America to still recognize Maduro as the legitimate leader of Venezuela. And, of course, the U.S. has been trying to overthrow him for a while. So it's just fitting that the U.S. was certainly played a helping hand in the Bolivian military's overthrow of this Morales guy, who, by the way, I'm not a fan of. I don't like the Morales dude at all. But like I said, there aren't really any good choices in Bolivia. And it doesn't seem like they overthrew him so much for his domestic policy, although there are people, talking about the nationalization of the lithium mines, saying that was a motivation. I don't know how much, resources like that really play into these coups, but Certainly, his foreign policy, his attitude towards the United States, towards the IMF, and all these other organizations played a big part in this. And you know what? On second thought, the lithium thing, that's a pretty big deal. So I'm sure the lithium had something to do with this. So now Morales is hiding out in the jungle, I guess, in cocaine country for a while. I don't know if we'll ever see anything of him again or if he'll just disappear into the bush. But that's all I got on this for now. So if you gained anything of value out of this video, I'd appreciate you clicking that like button and sharing this video. And if you haven't already, please do subscribe because I do upload every day and I'd hate to have you miss one. So I'll see you folks back here tomorrow.